G'day guys, welcome back. Today we are doing quite a bit on the patrol actually. I'm halfway through a quarter chop and a rear bar, and I thought it would be a really good time to tackle a few other jobs that I wanted to do on the patrol. So we are fitting working tail lights to the rear. As you can see, I have fitted working tail lights to my patrol. Most of you probably know that patrols didn't come out with working tail lights in the quarters. They got tail lights in the plastic bumper. And the tail lights that are in the quarters were blanked off for the most part, with one reverse light being in the passenger side tail light. So it's actually not that difficult to get yourself some functioning tail lights, and I'll show you guys how I did that in this video. Alrighty guys, so obviously the tail lights are already installed on the car. I did it all while I was doing my quarter chop and rear bar. It all just sort of made sense to do it at the same time. I just forgot to film everything for the tail lights, which is why I'm coming back at the end of the video. I'll give you guys a look at what the original tail lights looked like, and then I'll pull out the new tail lights that I put in and give you a look at those and how I did my wiring. For those of you who haven't seen the other video, this is a Star Crew rear bar, and it turned out bloody awesome. They only suit a quarter chop. So if you guys are wondering how to do that and how to fit these to your car, check out my other video and I'll show you how to do that as well. So to get to your tail lights, obviously I've got rear drawers, which makes this a bit of a dog of a job, but it's definitely doable without removing the drawers. You want to pick up your wing here, and then we're going to pull out this access panel. I've got a 12 volt panel there. If you don't have one, it'll just be a normal trim piece. Looks like this one. So we pull out our wing, pull out that little cover. Some of you might have a bottle jack in there, mine's gone, so it's all empty. And then there's a big void behind your tail light, and there's two 10mm screws. So there's one of the bolts down there, and then if I can get the camera in, that's the other one up there. So there's only two bolts holding these tail lights in, and then it's two push pins. So you undo the bolts and then give it a little bit of a pull. They're pretty fragile, so don't get too rough with them. But once you've got those two bolts out, the only thing holding them in is those push pins. So you should be right to just give it a bit of a bump or a yank, and they should break free. So I'll show you guys on the passenger side as well. It's a lot easier to get in here because it's a larger opening. There's one of the tail light bolts, and then if the camera will focus, that's the other one there. And this here is my weapon of choice, 1/4 inch ratchet with an extension and a wobbly drive, and then your 10mm socket there. So this should be all you need to get these tail lights out. So to pull the tail light out, you can see it's wobbling in there. Your push pins go in on an angle like that. It's kind of like 45 degrees. You just want to pull on that angle. You don't want to like grab the tail light over here and reef it to the left of the car. Try and pull it out on the angle that those push pins go in. And that's our tail light. So these are the old tail lights. So this is the passenger side. You can see we've got one bulb in there. These are usually blanked off, but the previous owners cut into them to, my guess is, try and fit some tail lights in there, and then decided that it wasn't worth the effort and they gave up. So usually these would be blanked. You can fit tail lights to these if you're good enough with a Dremel. That's another common way of getting your tail lights to work. But I've decided to go for replacement ones. They look exactly the same, but they're not cracked and split because they're not 20 years old. And you can see fitted out with all the bulbs. This is how they came, so all your bulbs were in there. You didn't have to buy anything extra. It's not a bad time to put in LEDs if that's how you want to go about it. I decided that I'm just going to run the bulbs for a little bit before I decide to change up. Fit it off with the Nissan plug. So the passenger side actually is plug and play. All your lights and stuff will work. The plug fitted to the car has all of your wires that you need to have a functioning passenger side tail light. What the car doesn't have is any wiring on the driver's side. So driver's side tail light completely blanked off. There is a indicator and a ground wire on the driver's side. That's all that's in the quarter panel on the driver's side. And here is the driver's side tail light. So all fitted out, all your bulbs, everything. This plug I fitted off. So this is a Deutz plug. It came with the matching plug, the Nissan style, but I don't have the capabilities to pin out a Nissan plug. So to make it work for me, I cut off the Nissan plug and then fitted out a Deutz male on the inside of the quarter on the other side. So old driver's side, old passenger side, and then our new lights, which are matching and wired up. So old tail lights and new tail lights. I got these from a brand called Aussie Parts off eBay, and I'll leave a link in the description to where you guys can order these from. Alrighty guys, so now that we've got our tail lights all out, I can show you how I did my wiring. So I'll come over to the passenger side. So like I mentioned earlier, passenger side has a plug fitted off with 5 wires going into it. That is everything you need for a working tail light on the passenger side. With the tail lights that I bought, they're actually plug and play over on this side. You just fit the Nissan plug into the tail light and it's all there working. So what I decided to do, you can see there's one wire on the bottom side there. It's green and yellow and it feeds into the corner of that Nissan plug. I left that one alone because it's your indicator left and we don't need that on the right hand side. The other 4 wires in this plug are earth, reverse, tail and brake. Now I wanted all of those over the other side for my driver's side tail light. So I've joined into those with a 7-core trailer wire because I couldn't find a 5-core trailer wire. So I've got a couple extra wires in this lead that aren't necessary, but I've got black, green, red and blue. So those are the wires that I'm taking over to the other side. It's basically everything on this plug that isn't in that bottom corner. So you want everything that isn't your indicator left, fit it into a lead, and then take that lead up into your quarter, and then from the quarter comes up into the inside and goes up over the top of the car, drops down the other side. So it's hard to get the camera in there, but you can see our conduit coming up there. I'm going to be careful to make sure I tuck it away from that seatbelt reel. Not that these get used anyway, but just keep it away from there just in case. And then we come through that hole we drilled all the way up the top. And then there's a bit of foam there. Make sure you push the conduit behind that. And it sits quite nicely back there. It'll hold itself sort of away from the corner. And then we're tucked up in there, all the way across where we drop back down the other side. This trim's kind of hard to move without snapping it. And then we dive down through our hole, and then you can see our cable there. And now on the driver's side of the car, this is the trailer wire. So I've got 4 wires coming out of that, going into a Deutz plug. And then I've got 1 wire coming from this here is the Nissan harness. And then in the Nissan plug, I've got 1 wire, that's a ground wire. This one that I've cut is indicator right. So these can be found just about here in your quarter. If you reach in and grab them, just rip them off the whatever tag they're on. They can be a real pain to undo. So mine's got a broken tag because I couldn't get it off. Pull it out, grab your indicator. I chose to leave the ground, but theoretically you should be right to use this ground instead of grabbing it from the other side. And then I've got all my wires coming from the passenger side tail light, ground, brake, tail and reverse. And then we've got our driver's side indicator there. As I said earlier, I didn't use the factory Nissan plug, this one here, because I don't have the capabilities of fitting it out with the pins to use this plug. So I've used what I can fit out, which is a Deutz plug. If you have the capabilities of pinning out a Nissan style plug, then you can just use all these wires here, pin them to this plug, and then the driver's side tail light should plug straight in as well. So backside of the driver's tail light is a Deutz plug now, but when I ordered it, it turned up with the Nissan style plug like this. Alrighty guys, so that is how I fitted out my Patrol with working tail lights. If you guys don't want to grab them from this side and then feed them up and over the car to the other side, the other way you can do it is grab all the wires out of your tail light and the bumper and then feed them up through the floor just in that rear quarter. So the only problem I saw with that is that you need to make either an extra hole in the floor or try and find a grommet nearby, which can lead you on a bit of a rat race around the car. So I thought at least doing it this way keeps it all waterproof and it's all internal to the car. I've had it about a month like this with the harness in the roof, and I haven't noticed any extra noise or rattling of the harness bouncing in the roof. It's actually held up there quite tight, and it's all the way at the back of the car, so even if it was rattling, you probably wouldn't hear it. Alrighty guys, so now that we've got all of our wiring done and fitted out our tail lights with whatever plugs you have available, putting them back in is just as easy as taking them out, and then you'll have working tail lights. Line up our push pins. So, driver's side, exactly the same as the passenger side, except we've got a Nissan plug over here. And then push your harness in, line up your push pins, give them a tap. And that's your tail light in. Now we just have to go around the inside and do up our 10mm bolts. Alrighty guys, so that is how you fit out your GU Patrol with working tail lights. Hopefully you guys found this video helpful and are interested in fitting your Patrol out in the same way that I did. If you guys have any questions, throw them in the comments below and I'll answer them as best I can. I will have a video coming out shortly on how to fix Hyperflash on your GU Patrol, so that might be particularly helpful for those of you looking to fit out your tail lights with LEDs, because you're bound to run into that issue. If you guys are interested in the Star Crew rear bar or how to do a quarter chop on your GU Patrol, go check out the last video that I've posted. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next video, which will be how to fix Hyperflash.